Have you thought you would like to be a rig welder, but don't think pipeline welding is right for you and your family? Today, I'm going to give you some options that require less testing, could keep you closer to home, and if you stay till the end, I'll hook you up with a specialty tool list that will get you started on the right track as a rig welder that doesn't pipeline. Make sure to hit that red subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. It helps the channel and reminds you when I post a new video every Friday. I've been welding off my own rig since 2007. It first started as a side hustle while working at a local fab shop right out of high school. After that, I worked for myself, running my own truck, worked on drilling rigs, and then in a tank farm. I've experienced other work as a rig welder, and I am here to give you some ideas if you want the freedom of working off your own truck, but maybe don't want to travel the country chasing pipelines. So what's neat about welding off your own truck is, like I've talked about before, you're working for yourself. You can literally market yourself however you want to and focus on whatever you want to working out of your own truck. You can do, I've done a little bit of like random work, like duct work for restaurants, other types of stainless steel work for restaurants. You could always focus on handrails, pipe fence, metal buildings, carports, heavy equipment, etc., etc. I mean, literally focus on whatever you want to or do all of it, you know. Anything that requires portable welding. That's what's so cool about it. Or you can always work on drilling rigs. I had a comment the other day of somebody that didn't know what welding on drilling rigs meant. All this oil that they get out of the ground, they get it by drilling into the ground. It's a big process, but a drilling rig is made of mostly all metal. I would say 98% of mild steel. So they need rig welders to work on these drilling rigs. A lot of them might be built in shops and stuff, not with rig trucks, but a lot of them are built with rig trucks. Companies hire rig welders to build these drilling rigs, but they also hire them to chase the drilling rigs, as in like whenever they tear down and set up a drilling rig, sometimes they want to change stuff from one location to another, or sometimes they have stuff break, so they have rig welders on call to where rig welder can come on site and fix whatever's wrong with the drilling rig or anything, you know. Most of the work on drilling rigs is structural, a lot of structural, but there is some piping that needs to be done on drilling rigs. And usually on most jobs you don't have to take a test, although some you do, but drilling rigs does have a very more crazy schedule than pipeline. Like you might have to go out in the middle of the night, work tons of hours, travel a long ways like to a drilling rig. But you can also sometimes be closer to home depending on where you're from. But it's an option. So you can either work for a contractor working 60 hours a week or whatever, as long as they need you, or it's still contract work. You don't have split check. You charge, or they usually have a set rate, you know, that they pay their rig welders, but it's straight time. You gotta take your own taxes out. I mean, it's just like working for yourself. It's straight money, no overtime or anything. Or you can work straight for the gas company or the company man putting on well heads. I'm not educated enough on this because I haven't done it myself like that much. Not near enough to be telling you what it is and the details of it. But in a nutshell, whenever they drill, they go in and out of the ground several times, and different size of pipe and different, there's just several processes when it comes to drilling for oil. And when they do finally get it drilled and everything, a welder comes in and puts on a well head, and that welding you have to know what you're doing when it comes to that. And it's pipe, but it's low hydrogen, and it's a horizontal weld as far as I know. But anyway, it can sometimes pay more, but a lot of times you might have to wait 60, 90, 120 days to get your money. But again, it can be good for staying close to home and just working for yourself in that way, you know. So different options, all kinds of different options. There's also station work, which is like compressor stations for pipelines, or they also have plant work that a guy can do running his or her own truck. And like I mentioned earlier, tank farm, all the piping in tank farms, which should be considered station work, I guess. All the piping to the tanks, all the piping to the truck racks where the trucks come in and get the oil out of the tanks and deliver them to wherever they need the oil. So as you can tell, there are a bunch of different options as far as working out of your truck. It's just a matter of making your way into one type of work or the other. Alright, now I would like to know, have you heard of chasing drilling rigs before this video? Tell me yes or no below in the comments. Alright, so you can also work for a local steel fab shop or somebody local that puts up metal buildings or builds pipe fence running their rig truck. It'll be single hand work. Single hand means you use their tools. You might be running a rig truck, but it's owned by somebody else and you just work out of their truck, but you're still working off of a rig truck. So if something like that appeals to you, you can always do that. There's also roustabout work, which is just oil field work in general, building tank batteries, doing well hookups and stuff like this. This again is either single hand or contract. There's also the option of being a structural welder for pipeline contractor. I haven't heard of this in the union, but non-union, they will hire a structural welder just to work on like dead men, sleds, buggies, or anything that needs to be built that's not welding on the pipeline itself. They will hire the structural welder to do that type of work, because on some jobs there's a lot of it to be done. They can hire a structural welder for a little less money because he's not tested to weld on the pipe, and it's also an option to get your foot in the door on the pipeline specifically. So you could always work for a farm or a ranch running your own truck. Some farms or ranches might hire a rig welder that also knows a little bit about farm or ranching, and you get to do a little bit of both and maybe be able to negotiate a little bit because you do have a skill and you have your own stuff. It's just a matter of running into that right opportunity to do such thing, but that's always an option. And the last one that I can think of is welding on bridges. This might go along with just having your own rig welding business, but you could always weld on bridges for different contractors that do highway work or just strictly build bridges. They might have their own welder that welds on the bridges, or they might contract the welding part out, which means they would call somebody like yourself if you were tested and advertised for that you weld on bridges. You just got to take your test. At least in Oklahoma, you got to take a test to be able to weld on bridges, because it's still got to pass some kind of code. That is always an option. Working as a rig welder could require you to have more tools than what I typically talk about on a starter pipeline rig. So I've created a list of specialty tools to get you started if you decide to go this route instead. Click the link below to get your free list. If you are a rig welder, comment below with your most used specialty tool so people can add it to their list. Don't forget to share this video if you found it helpful, like if you liked it, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified when I post a new video next Friday. Last week's winner of the Industrial Tradition sticker pack was Jackson Rowland. Here was your comment. Email me at aroswelding@gmail.com with your address so I can get that sent over to you. Are you liking these videos? Comment yes, more please, if you are, and for your chance to win a t-shirt that I will announce in next week's video. Good luck! Thanks for watching, and remember, learn something every day. We will see you next Friday.